Welcome back to the railroad, everyone. Today we're going to take some used Code 332 track. It's really dirty. We're going to clean it up a little. I'll show you where I make connections and what I use, and we'll make this track usable again. So let's get busy. Okay, so the track we're going to use today is some old LGB track, and this is actually called flagless LGB. This is definitely some old track, however the ties are in really good shape, so I think we're going to be good. Now you can see the angle at which this bend is. Not very many large trains can make it over a bend that sharp, so we're going to straighten this out, and then we're going to clean this up a little bit and see what we can do to make this a good usable rail again. Plus, with the tarnish that you can see on here, this would not make very good connectivity for your engines to keep them running if you're not dead rail like I am. That said, let's get to work. Okay, some of these rails have an older, I think this is a Sunset Valley rail clamp. This could be the early edition of the split jaw. Now, you got to be careful if you use a wrench on these instead of a screwdriver type attachment, because you can break these threads off. Okay. You may have to wiggle a little bit, which tells you that these things have corroded in place. Almost there. There. Same thing with that one. Now what happens with these is this unit, this piece right through here, this gets very brittle. And the whole unit will break off. The newer ones actually have a wedge cut in it. It's stronger, and they tend to last longer. Next point, you'll see the ends of these rails are really dirty. If you try to put another rail clamp on there and make a connection to have power on your tracks, it's not going to conduct the electricity the same as if you get that clean. So we're going to clean those next. I have a couple of different wire brushes which are extremely old. If you have a Dremel tool, you can use one of theirs. But I like to clean the ends of these rails as much as possible so that we can get some good contact when we put different rail clamps on. Now you're not going to see these things really shiny. You're just going to see the dirt taken off of them. And that's another thing. If there's dirt that gets behind this neck of the rail, then when you put this rail clamp on, it's going to put undue pressure on this back piece through here, and it'll break that right out. So you need to make sure that these are really clean. Okay, now that we've got most of the dirt and grime off of these ends, we're going to do a much better cleaning. And like I say, if you've got a Dremel tool, you can use their little wire brush and get right in these crevices and make that just shine like the devil, which is what you need. Okay, I'm going to turn the camera down here a little. Now you could try just going over this with a wire brush, and you will get some of the material off of there, some of the dirt and junk from settling. But what a lot of people prefer to use is just one of these green Scotch-Brite pads. You go through them fairly quickly, but when you look and see what happens, and yes, it does take a little elbow grease, that rail is almost new looking. And believe me, I've done this on hundreds of feet of this rail when we redid our train modules 3 years ago. We had donated track or rail, and we bought some new, so of course I didn't have to polish the new, but the donated stuff, some of it was as black as this was to begin with. Okay, now you can see the difference between here. You can see the difference between here and out here. That's a big difference. If you put a meter across that, you could sense those, but from here to here you may not be able to sense that. All right, the other thing is I like to bring it on edge and try to polish this up again, where if you have a little Dremel tool, that'll polish right out for you. but you can see I'm getting rid of a lot of the junk that's on there. I do it on the bottom here too. And remember, your engine rides on the top and the inside of these rails. So where do you want to clean best? You want to clean on that inside a little better than on the outside. The inside and the top. Now I'm going to take a little break and clean these up a little bit, and we'll come back. So we now have these tracks shining a little bit. You can see that shimmer, and the ends have been cleaned off a little. We don't have to clean them down completely, we just want them usable. This one isn't quite as bright, but it gets tiring doing that. Now we need to straighten these out a little bit, because you don't want that steep of a bend in these if you're going to be running on a normal railroad. So I have a rail bender. Now the trick with the rail bender is, okay, so when we put this on, we want to make sure it's down and set tight. This rail bender, by the way, has a device to level your tracks if you're attempting to level them too. Okay, now as you can see, it's just trying to move the rail a little bit like that, but it's not leaving a permanent bend here. It will take this bend out. So you can see how that's taken it out already. That would not be a bad bend. Now you bring it down here, tighten it just a bit, and take the rest of that bend out. Now I've actually taken 1 foot sections of track, a 4 foot diameter track, and I've straightened those pieces to make straight rail. And yes, it will work. Now when I release, lift it away when I can, now you have a reasonably straight section of track here. So now we'll try to take this little bit of twist out of this track. Again, it's going to be the same. This one's a little longer curve. It goes way down to here. Oops, ran off the end. If it goes off the end, take it all the way off and do it again. Okay, however, I think that's acceptable for a reasonably straight piece of track. You can actually flex this without having to use the rail bender to put it into your railroad. All right, now we're going to get into connecting the tracks together and putting power to this unit. All right, this is a deoxidizer. It will help keep the oxidization away. Even though these are brass for the connectors, the bolts are not brass. They're a steel of some type. And while we're at it, these are the old connectors that were on the tracks. Now you notice these are the square ones. When you look at these have an angled groove, and they have much more meat right here. Where it makes it stronger. So these will break right here. In fact, that one feels a little weak, but these will break right here. These with the V groove on them are much stronger. And with these, I would not use them as such. I would clean these up as much as you can with a wire brush, a Dremel tool. If you don't have that and you're a rock hound, you can actually use a rock tumbler with walnut shell. That will actually clean these up beautifully after about a day. Okay, so we can try a little spray on these and see how that looks. Now another type is this is an oxide inhibiting compound, which will do the same thing, except it's a lot messier. It's a black material, and it's a grease basically to keep away the different oxides that will create between different metals. Okay, back again. Commonly, you shouldn't use a drill really on these. Part of the reason is these things get really tight and you'll rip your fingers right off. Now I can't really find my driver for these right now, so I'm just going to complete this using a hex wrench. Okay. Now we'll attach our power strip up to the rest of the track. And so our track is connected all the way through. Now it's time to try an engine. All right. Now we have power to the rails way out here. Let's move this a little bit. We have power to the rails way down here. Here's our transformer. It's an old Aristocrat. Okay, now let's try this. This is my son's engine. See which way this runs. There she goes. She's going out. Okay. Now let's see about bringing her back. Okay, out again, full steam. Back again, full steam. I like the Aristocrat power packs, the old ones, because they would pick the speed up gently and then slow you down gently. It doesn't come to a screeching halt. So, there we have it. Cleaning the rails, straightening the rails, using a deoxidizer, and getting good connectors. Let's go watch some trains run. Well, I hope you all enjoyed that. Be safe, stay healthy. We'll see you down the rails, and God bless.